used in all different ways. But in Australia we actually have a massive population of feral camels because they're great survivors. It's a hump on their back, it means they can go for a long time without drinking water. The little camel to our left here is the youngster. She's having a bit of a snooze. We're getting a good view of the underside of the camel. So as well as having the hump on their back, they have a very thick pad of skin on their chests and on the elbows and knees that helps them to survive in the desert as well when they're sitting on the ground. There's another desert survivor just on our right hand side as well. Here, this pale, almost white antelope is called the adax. A-D-D-A-X. If you look carefully, there is a little adax just tucked behind that pale hay there. So adax don't have a hump on their back like the camel, but they can survive because they're so specialised to digest their food with very little moisture. They can live in places where fawns are travelling around the zoo today. Adax have a really awesome set of fawns. Unfortunately, they have been hunted for those fawns in the past for trophies and have also been hunted for meat. They're a critically endangered antelope, so we're pleased to see them breeding a Rubayet. As we roll forward here now, we're getting a look into North America. So North American bison on our right hand side. These are big powerful animals. The bull of these have a very fancy prance that they do when they're kind of showing off to each other. And you can see that swishing that kind of horse-like tail as well. So the animals of the desert have to be very good survivors. We can see that in this area we've got the water supply. It looks a little bit like people have been drilling wells. And so we've described this also as a shared habitat with people who might be living around here. They might be bringing farm animals into this area or building up big herds of camels or cattle. Time of day you'd expect the hippopotamus to stay pretty close to the water. In the water at the moment, I can't see it, but the tuning now under the water. Should be most likely on our left hand side. As soon as I say that, of course, it'll appear on our right hand side. There's a little bit of movement in the water. It could be the breeze, but I'm just going to move slowly so you might not see me, folks. You'd have no idea that just under the surface there is around about 3 tonne of hippopotamus. They can get fairly grumpy if you get too close to the baby hippo, or if they just feel threatened in any way. It goes surprisingly quick with a top speed of about 40 kilometres an hour. Big powerful jaws, even though they don't have a horn on their head, they've got big sharp teeth in the mouth, especially the males, and those great big water birds around the waterhole view. We've got a plover on our right hand side and one pair of Cape Barren geese enjoying a bit of wading on the left. So we will come back through this area on our return trip. See if we can find on the way back. I think we're getting a like they're just settling down in the grass. Are a larger East African antelope. The little calf you can see here is about 4 or 5 months old. The male, darker in colour, has a nice, sharp, curvy set of horns. But the females have no horns at all. They're really just relying on their stealth and camouflage to avoid predators. There's where the river flows through the property here. It's quite a significant river, apparently some spots 8 metres deep, I believe. Fresh water. So as it leaves the property, it turns into a wider, tidal kind of river. And then upstream for us, it's a faster flowing, narrow river. Very big horns on these guys. These are the cattle that we can see here are Texas Longhorns, and they're relatives of the Watusi cows that the people keep in some parts of Africa. And it can get quite complicated when people are keeping big herds of farm animals like this. You can imagine these cows consume lots of grass. bodies of water, they can make it tough for the zebras or the other wildlife that live in those areas. So one of our programs is to try and reduce the number of farm animals that are not being used. Because probably wouldn't want people around if there's farmers with their herds in these areas. It's interesting to see them tucked under the trees like this. It's camouflage that works in lots of interesting ways. This is our breeding fountain group of zebra, and we will see some more zebra up ahead of us, but it's just kind of interesting to see them under the trees there. Show the way that some of the people in Africa still live very simply, very close to some quite serious wildlife. You don't know the names are of these villages. Some new gates going in here, ready for when we get our T-Rex. Just here on our left. Square acres, that's quite a nice size for an open range. We're not the biggest in Australia, but we don't see all of that on our safari tour. We probably see about 2 nice and gently down into the hill, down into the valley, I should say. They're one of the interesting. The male is the one that we can see moving to the right hand side of the group, near the trees. You can see he's a different colour to the others simply because where he was living there's different coloured numbers. But look at these two running against each other. That's a little bit of unusual behaviour. They just must be generally a bit nervous. The one that was backing away there is a young rhino. She's about 2.5 years of age. We may get another view of the rhinoceros on the way through, but a little bit of interesting behaviour, probably good for us to watch from a distance. Rhinos can't see very well. They've got quite small eyes and low down on the head. They've got a very good sense of smell. You can see where the rhinoceros have been leaving these big pups. The zebras that we see here are being called plain zebras. They're from the plains. They're the most common type of zebra. They have naturally kind of brownish colour in the coat. You can see the male rhino there just making his way towards that log. Comes a little loose corn on that log to sharpen it up or just to wear it down a little bit. They're on the left of the tallest of the animals on land, the giraffe. Giraffes are quite tricky animals to keep in the zoo. So we have to make sure they don't get too cold in the winter time, so they've got some nice big sheds they can go into. And they can be a little bit tricky to treat if they get sick, so it's difficult to tranquilise them safely. I've probably got you guys in here today to do something or other. They're not that size. So giraffes we see here on our left. Very well adapted to feeding off the highest of the vegetation. So you can see the zookeepers have put a bit of food in a basket for them there that they're enjoying. Lucerne is a nice sweet fodder. Giraffes can trim the trees down in this area, but it's difficult for them to feed trees into the giraffes. Now there's a massive base on that neck. They have a kind of an extension of the spine and then a big, thick, strong set of tendons running along the back of that neck to keep that on the head too, those lovely little horns. behaviour, you'll see them being quite cautious, see something unusual, they're very capable to defend themselves quite vigorously. They've got a very powerful kick, and they help each other. They will practice their fighting skills as well on each other, and that's one way fights they have. Two of the biggest birds here as well, two ostrich on the left-hand side and two male ostriches. And you can see that ostrich opening his beak. He's kind of telling us off a little bit. He's saying, don't you come too close here because I might stand up and tell you what's on their body. Legs at top speed of about 80 kilometres an hour. They only have two toes on each foot, so that's quite a difference. Even their tail looks a little bit like a lion's tail. They've got that dark tuft on the tail. The main difference between males and females is the weight. You can see the ball there is a massive fellow. Eland will travel long distances in the African landscape, positioned as if they've been doing some mutual grooming. It's very unusual for them to stay this close to us. Close we can get. Zebra pattern is very intriguing as well. The markings of each zebra individual, just like our fingerprints. The difference most easy if you look in the middle of the zebra. At the top of the foreleg there's a little triangle shape that often has a very different marking. That area, the margins are folded, so the fold memorize that pattern on their mum, and they can always find their mum even in a or can travel 8 kilometres through the still air, and can be heard over in Ruby, and that's the lion saying the little ones on our left are not in the area we're travelling through at the moment. We did have a group of zebras in here that can be quite aggressive to some of the smaller animals, so we have to be a bit careful. I think it's very patient, birds sitting all over it. Even in Africa, there could be crops in the waterhole, there could be hippos, there could be lions hiding bushes or hyenas, so they know those other animals will have to come down for a drink and they'll try and catch them. That almost brings us to the end of our Papua Day's entry, 3 great zoos of Victoria. Great idea if you have kids that like coming to the zoo as well, so you can come there on an entry. Or you can join us in fighting extinction by buying these wildlife. Fish shop or online and have last view of the camels as we umbrellas, children, no children, but all the things that else probably, so just make sure you have everything with you, and just a few moments we'll get